In today's video, I'm talking all about filming in low light conditions. So let's get right into it. Hey, what's up? It's Chris from Brooker Films, and in today's video, I'm talking all about filming in the dark. Now, it doesn't matter what camera you're shooting on. It could be the Red Epic W or it could be an iPhone 10. It doesn't matter what camera you're shooting on. If you're shooting in a really dark outside location, then your footage is going to look really noisy, really amateur, and really ugly. So you want to try and avoid filming in low light conditions if this is at all possible. So rather than shooting a scene down a dark alleyway, try consider moving the action to a slightly different location that has more available light. So you want to look at the surrounding lights. You want to look at the lights that are provided to you within the scene. So if you're filming outside, for example, then try and shoot in an area with street lights or passing car lights or lights coming from shops or cafes. Really take advantage of the lights within your scene. Just shooting in an area with street lights as opposed to an area without street lights can instantly transform the quality of your footage. However, if the footage is still a little bit too dark, then you might want to consider adding some of your own lights. If you're on a budget, then you can simply just use the flashlight on your phone, and this might help to add just a little bit more ambient light within the scene. But if you do have a little bit of budget, then I would really consider getting a portable LED light that can take batteries. If you have 1, 2, or even 3 of these lights on set with you, then you can dramatically transform your footage to look nice, beautiful, and cinematic. But if you do not have the budget for video lights and you can't use the flashlight on your phone, consider moving the time of the shoot to daytime rather than nighttime. If you can't afford light and you can't get extra light into your scene, then ask yourself, is it really worth shooting at night when you're going to get really ugly, noisy footage, when you could get beautiful footage during the middle of the day when you can take advantage of the natural light. However, if you're still persistent and you want to shoot the scene outdoors at nighttime with no lighting available, then you can turn to the camera settings built into your camera. There are a few settings built into your camera that can help you to add more light into your scene. However though, it's really important to note that you must be really careful when using these settings, not to take this too far because you'll make your footage look really ugly if you're not careful. So the first setting is frame rate, and typically if you're shooting dialogue, then you're going to be shooting in 25 frames per second anyway. But if you plan on using slow motion and using higher frame rates, consider not doing this, because if you use a higher frame rate of around 60 frames per second, then your shutter is going to block out more light and therefore your shots are going to be darker. So consider shooting in 25 frames per second if you want to use all of the available light. The next setting is shutter speed, and you don't want a high shutter speed when you're shooting outdoors because you're going to block off all of that available light. Consider using 1/50 as your shutter speed because you really want to take advantage of the minimal light that you have available to you. The aperture is a setting within your camera, and this is a hole in your lens that opens and closes to let more light in and out of the sensor. Opening the shutter all the way up will let loads of light into the scene, but this will blur out your background. So if you shoot in an aperture of around f1.8, you're going to let loads of light into the shot, but your background and your foreground will be really, really blurry. Whereas if you shoot at f22, everything will be in sharp focus, your foreground, the middle, and the background will all be in focus, but the problem is you're closing out a lot of light. So when you're shooting at night, you're shooting in a dark environment, you want to open up your aperture to the furthest you can open it. So if your camera goes down to f4, open it to f4. If your camera opens to f2.8, open it to f2.8. And then the last setting is ISO, and your ISO is basically your camera's brightness control. Pulling the ISO all the way up to 10,000 will add more light into the shot, but the higher you go, the more noise and more grain you will introduce into your shots. And the problem is with noise and grain, your footage will look very amateur very quickly. So the ISO is a balancing act. Increasing your ISO will add more brightness, but it will add more noise. So you want to try and find a number on your ISO range that you can just about get away with, where your shot is lit just enough so you can see what's happening, but not too much to the point where your footage looks really amateur. So to sum this video up, when you're shooting videos outside in the nighttime, you want to consider changing locations to a brighter location, consider shooting in the day if it's too dark, boost your camera settings but not too high, and then add light into your scene to add a little bit of extra light. If you have access to light and you can boost your camera settings up a little bit, then you can get some really beautiful and really cinematic footage in the nighttime, but you have to be prepared. You have to know what challenges you're going to face when you're outside, and you have to know how to control the situation when you're filming outside. And there you go. If you enjoyed watching this video, then please do let me know in that comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe, check out the previous video, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.